I gave my wife's friends 1 hour to clean up their mess or pay $115 each. You won't believe what happened next. I, 34M, have been dealing with my wife's college friends for the past 5 years of our marriage, and I've finally had enough. Let me explain. My wife and her 5 college roommates have this tradition where they get together once a year for a girls' weekend. They rotate whose house they stay at, and this year was our turn to host. Now, I don't mind the concept. I think it's great that she maintains these friendships. The problem is how they behave when they're together. The first year after we got married, we traveled to one of her friends' houses for the reunion. I tagged along since it was in a city I'd always wanted to visit, but I made myself scarce during their actual hangout time. Even from a distance, I could see how wild they got. When my wife came back to our hotel room each night, she was completely wasted. But hey, it was their annual thing, and she was having fun. Last year was the first time they stayed at our place. I decided to visit my parents for the weekend to give them space. When I returned on Sunday evening, our house looked like a tornado had hit it. Empty wine and liquor bottles everywhere. Food stains on our couch. Someone had apparently thrown up in our guest bathroom and hadn't cleaned it properly. There were cigarette burns on our wooden deck furniture, despite our house being strictly no smoking. My wife was hungover and promised they'd clean up, but she was in no condition to do anything. I ended up doing most of the cleaning while she slept it off. I told her afterward how disappointed I was with the state of our house, and she apologized profusely. She promised that next time, they would be more respectful of our space. I believed her because, well, she's my wife and she's usually very considerate. Cut to this year. The reunion was scheduled for this past weekend. In the days leading up to it, my wife kept reassuring me that she had talked to her friends and they all agreed to be more careful this time. I was skeptical but decided to trust her. Instead of leaving for the whole weekend, I booked a single night at a hotel for Friday, planning to return Saturday evening. When I left on Friday afternoon, the women were already starting to arrive. They were all hugging and screaming like they hadn't seen each other in decades, even though they're constantly in a group chat and video call each other regularly. I greeted everyone politely, helped carry in some bags, and then made my exit. That night, my wife called me around midnight, clearly drunk, telling me how much fun they were having and how they were being good. I could hear shouting and music in the background. I reminded her that I'd be back tomorrow evening and to please remember what happened last year. She slurred something about not worrying before hanging up. I checked out of my hotel at noon on Saturday and decided to grab lunch before heading home. While eating, I got a call from our next-door neighbor. He was apologetic about bothering me, but wanted to let me know that there had been extremely loud music and shouting from our house until about 3 a.m., and that he'd found empty bottles and what looked like a bra on our front lawn this morning. I was livid. I thanked him for letting me know and headed straight home, arriving around 2 p.m. The scene that greeted me was even worse than last year. The living room had cups and bottles scattered everywhere. There was what looked like red wine spilled on our cream-colored rug, a wedding gift from my parents. Someone had apparently decided to make food in the middle of the night and left a complete disaster in the kitchen, with a frying pan containing burned food still on the stove. My wife and her friends were all still asleep, sprawled across our bedroom, the guest room, and one was even passed out on the couch. Our dog looked traumatized, hiding in his crate, which was unusual for him. When I checked his water bowl, it was empty. That was the final straw. I decided I wouldn't yell or argue. Instead, I'd show them exactly how their behavior affected others. I put our dog in my car with some water and food, then came back in and got to work. First, I took photos of every room for documentation. Then, I went around the house and turned on all the lights. I grabbed a metal pot and wooden spoon from the kitchen and walked through the house, banging them together like cymbals, announcing loudly, "Good afternoon, everyone. It's cleanup time." The groans and complaints were immediate. My wife stumbled out of our bedroom, looking confused and annoyed. "What are you doing here?" she mumbled. "You said you'd be back this evening." "Change of plans," I replied calmly. Our neighbor called about the noise and garbage on our lawn. I thought I should come back and see if everything was okay. Clearly, it's not. Her friends began emerging from their various sleeping spots, looking disheveled and irritated. One of them, the most outspoken of the group, snapped at me about how I was being a buzzkill and that they were just having fun. Instead of engaging, I smiled and said, "You're absolutely right. Everyone deserves to have fun. And now it's my turn." I walked over to our sound system and turned it on, blasting heavy metal at full volume. Several of them covered their ears, clearly nursing hangovers. "What the hell?" one yelled over the music. I turned it down slightly and explained, "This is what our neighbors heard until 3 a.m. Not very pleasant when you're not part of the fun, is it?" I then pointed to the mess. "I'll give everyone exactly 1 hour to clean this place up. Anything that's broken will need to be replaced. The wine stain on the rug, that needs to be properly treated right now before it sets in permanently. My wife pulled me aside, clearly angry. Can't you see they're not feeling well? We were going to clean up later. You're embarrassing me in front of my friends. I looked her straight in the eye and replied, and you didn't embarrass me by breaking your promise? Our neighbor found a bra on our front lawn. Our dog's water bowl was empty. There are cigarette ashes on my desk in the home office, a room that was supposed to be off limits this weekend. So no, I don't think I'm the one who should be embarrassed right now. Her face fell as she realized I was serious. I continued, I'm going to take our dog to the dog park for exactly 1 hour. When I come back, I expect the house to be in the same condition it was when I left yesterday. If not, I'll be happy to help by calling a professional cleaning service and sending the bill to each of you. I could see her friends listening to our conversation. Some looked ashamed, while others seemed annoyed that their weekend was being disrupted. The outspoken one muttered something about me being controlling. I addressed the whole group before leaving. I've respected your friendship and this tradition. All I asked was that you respect our home in return. That seemed like a fair deal to me. Apparently not to you. I took the dog and left for exactly 1 hour. When I returned, there had been some half-hearted attempts at cleaning, but it was nowhere near what I'd expected. The wine stain had been blotted, but not properly treated. The kitchen still had food stuck to the counters. I see, I said quietly. I took out my phone and, in front of everyone, called a cleaning service we'd used before. I requested their emergency weekend service, knowing it would cost double. I specifically mentioned the wine stain and asked if they could come immediately. They confirmed they could be there in 30 minutes. After hanging up, I announced, the cleaners will be here in half an hour. The total will be around $300 for the emergency weekend rate. That's $50 each. I'll also need $200 for a new rug since that stain isn't coming out. Oh, and $75 for the burn marks on the deck furniture from last year that I never mentioned. So that's about $115 per person. Cash or Venmo is fine. The room was silent. My wife looked mortified. Then the complaint started. That's ridiculous. We didn't agree to this. I'm not paying that. I shrugged. Then I suggest you start cleaning properly right now. The service has a 2-hour cancellation policy, so we have 30 minutes to make this place spotless before I'm charged a $50 fee just for booking them. Suddenly, everyone was moving. It was amazing how quickly 5 hungover women could clean when motivated by their wallets. My wife pulled me aside again, this time with tears in her eyes. I'm really sorry, she whispered. You were right. We went too far. I nodded but didn't soften. I'm not just upset about the mess. I'm upset that you broke your promise. This isn't about being the cool husband who lets his wife have fun with her friends. This is about basic respect. While they cleaned, I called the cleaning service back to cancel, accepting the $50 cancellation fee. I paid it myself, a small price for making my point. By dinner time, the house was mostly back in order. The wine stain was as treated as it could be, though it was clear the rug was ruined. The kitchen was clean, and all bottles and trash had been removed. The atmosphere was tense and awkward. My wife's friends were supposed to stay until Sunday afternoon, but by 7 p.m., they were all making excuses about why they needed to leave early. One suddenly remembered a family obligation. Another claimed she wasn't feeling well. Within an hour, they had all packed their bags and called rideshares. As the last one left, she murmured to my wife, "Text me later," with a pointed look in my direction. I pretended not to notice. When we were finally alone, my wife sat down on the couch and started crying. "I've ruined everything," she sobbed. "They'll never want to come here again. They think you're a controlling jerk, and it's all my fault for not keeping my promise." I sat beside her, but maintained some distance. If standing up for our home and our agreement makes me a controlling jerk in their eyes, so be it. And yes, you did break your promise, which hurts more than any mess ever could. She nodded, wiping her tears. I get so caught up in trying to relive our college days that I forget we're not in college anymore. We have responsibilities, nice things we've worked for. She looked at the stained rug and winced. "I'm so sorry. I'll replace it myself." We talked for hours that night. She admitted that her friends often brought out a side of her that she wasn't proud of, a desire to prove she could still be wild and carefree despite our settled life. I confessed that I felt disrespected and overlooked when she chose their temporary fun over our home and relationship. It's been 2 weeks since that weekend. The reunion group chat has been quiet according to my wife. She's reached out individually to each friend, apologizing for how things ended and taking full responsibility. Some have responded warmly, others more coolly. She's also suggested changing the tradition moving forward, maybe meeting at a hotel or rental property instead of someone's home, with costs split evenly. Or perhaps doing something entirely different that doesn't revolve around getting wasted, like a spa weekend or hiking trip. As for us, we're okay. She replaced the rug, and we've established clearer boundaries about guests in our home, regardless of who they are. I've promised to communicate my concerns more directly instead of hoping for the best, and then getting angry when things go wrong. I don't regret what I did. Sometimes people need a reality check, especially when alcohol and group dynamics are clouding their judgment. My wife's friends might think I'm a killjoy, but I suspect a few of them actually respect me more now. The ones who don't probably weren't respecting our home to begin with. So, was I wrong to interrupt their annual tradition? Should I have just stayed away and dealt with the aftermath again? Or was it time someone showed them that actions have consequences, even during a supposedly sacred girls' weekend? Either way, I doubt they'll be trashing our house again anytime soon. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with friends or family who might enjoy it too. Your support means a lot. And if you have any thoughts, questions, or story ideas, drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next story.